Hi everyone, my name is Gayatri and I'm a farm fellow here at RVAC and a high school student at Garfield High School. The final episode of the Seeds of Change Farmer Talk Story series. Today we'll be hearing from Friendly. Friendly may not be a farmer, but her work to organize and support farmers and advocacy for access to healthy food has helped spread and connect cultures. The connections she's made have helped bring the farming system to where it is now, and she continues to help build towards the vision for food sovereignty.
Yeah, so my name is Friendly Vane Johnson, and I am someone who grew up farming in Minnesota. And so, because I grew up farming, I had from a very early age had said that I did not want to be a farmer. My background is in public policy. When COVID hit back in 2020, there was a call that was put out to help Hmong flower farmers because the farmers markets were shut down. And so I thought, yeah, let me try to do what I can, because I know, as somebody who has farmed, how difficult the work is, and it would be a real shame, right, if people's businesses were lost, the traditions were lost simply because there was no market. So I somehow became a community organizer of like 40 and 50 folks, various ages, all across Seattle, and we were selling flowers, and was not really intending on doing it for as long as we did, but it just seemed like, well, COVID's going to end, but we should help the farmers one more week. So we did that. Along the way, I had the baby that I was pregnant with. We started a youth program for my son and all of his friends, black and brown kids, low-income kids in the Lake City neighborhood. And we expanded to beyond Hmong flower farmers, because one day I had a farmer who called me and said, I have 200 heads of lettuce and I have nowhere for it to go. And I thought to myself, well, I don't know how to sell vegetables in a virtual environment. I guess we'll just email everybody who bought a bouquet and we'll ask them, would you like a head of lettuce when you come to pick up your bouquet? And we quickly found out people do not want a random piece of vegetable, but if you put a bunch of random vegetables in a box, they will buy the whole box. So the work has evolved since then, so that now we are not just selling produce, we're helping farmers to sell their produce, but we are doing a lot of advocacy work and organizing work, because now what we've seen is that there are systemic issues as to why people do not have access to healthy, nutritious food. It's like our farmers, we're the people who are growing the food, but yet we don't have access to it, right? We're growing things to sell at these, I will call them bougie farmers markets, right? Because those are customers who are able to pay $4 a bunch for collard greens or kale, right? And so now we do a lot, like I said, of advocacy work, community organizing work. We do provide technical assistance to farmers. Also along the way, I became a shaman. I'm a rising shaman in the Hmong lineage. Becoming a shaman has allowed me to access ancestor and spirit, and to be driven to say, like, oh, this is the correct path. This is how to be in right relationship with the land and with people, not just, again, Hmong people, but other black and brown communities, farmers. When you ask me that question of, like, what am I doing in this space? It's like a lot of different things, but motivated by this very, very core belief that we are always building energy together, right? In the way that we organize, in the way that we feed ourselves, and that it's happening on many levels, whether that's economically, physically, spiritually. It is that core belief that drives me in my work. Yeah, so I think we have to look at this big vision that we're after, and it is ultimately food sovereignty. So I'm looking at these key inputs in the system, and I'm saying, well, one thing is that we have to have access to land, because so many farmers that I met during this time period of COVID to date, right, they don't own the land that they work on. They don't even have a document, a lease that says you can be here for 10 years, right? Well, if you don't know that you're going to be there, let's say in 3 years, well, why would you, for example, go to become organic certified? That's a lot of time and energy. Or why would you plant perennials? And so that is one of the key impediments to this entire system on our journey to food sovereignty, is having control of land. I have this saying about white supremacy and how everybody nowadays is like, I'm anti-racist. That's horrific, the discrimination that happened in the past, and everybody wants to move beyond it, right? We all want to transcend race and racism. First, must acknowledge that we live in a white supremacist society, right? That's where, white folks are the ones who control the vast majority of resources, whether that's them owning the farmlands, them having the distribution companies that get the food out, the grocery stores, what have you, right? It's not about us just playing this game better than them, right? It's about us supplanting white supremacy with us, and it's our indigenous selves. And when we embrace our indigeneity, right, being of the land, being of the seas, being of a place, right, it's then and there that we will supplant white supremacy with something else. And so that to me is what farming represents. Yeah. So my earliest memories are like running around in fields, like helping to water plants with, milk jugs, recycled milk jugs, right? It's like going to the farmer's market with my grandma, and like restaurateurs, like chefs, like coming into her table and like being like, how much for the basil? And I'd sit there as a little kid interpreting for my grandmother, right? Obviously, when you're growing up, you're just thinking like, well, this is just like kind of normal, right? Everybody has this. And then you realize, oh no, like so many people don't, like they can't tell the difference between, parsley and cilantro. And you then realize, oh, like that childhood that I had that at the time seemed to be really extreme, because I had to wake up so early and I had to like work in the sun and all of this, all the things that made me like, I never want to be a farmer again, right? I was like, that is all very precious, because it made me who I am today. It gave me a lot of grit, right? I learned how to be resilient. And so now, even in our youth program, I want them to be able to pick strawberries for a couple hours, and I want their back to hurt. And I want them to think to themselves next time they're in a grocery store and they see that little package, right, for $5.99. Wow, somebody went and picked these berries and they did it for like 12 hours. I want them to have some exposure. And why? It's because, well, these kids are the ones who are affected by food insecurity. They're the next set of voters. So I want them to have this exposure, and so that they can be like, yeah, I now have mad respect for farmers. So I have this little bit of wisdom that came as a revelation to me in my shaman journey, and in all this community organizing work that I've done, and to understand that, yeah, reincarnation is real. And all the things that we do not fix now, we're going to come right back to it. This work is not going to be done in this lifetime. We must do everything as honorably as we can, because that is what is going to transcend this lifetime. If I do the things that I need to do, and I do it with honor and deep respect, then that is going to engender movement. If you don't have a philosophy about that, it's really easy to, in this work, to become very depressed, right? To become very burnt out, because you're like, wow, like no matter what I do, it doesn't seem to be making a difference, right? And so I need people to look at this and understand, you are just one tiny speck in all of this as we move towards food sovereignty, right? That you are just one tiny speck, but you are an important speck, right? And that your commitment to this is what is going to ensure that we reach that destination, right? And that the journey to that destination is joyful.
Now that you've heard from our 6 food system leaders, we hope you're inspired to join this journey. Whether you're young or old or aren't familiar with being a part of the local food system, it's never too late to start being the change you want to see.